It's time now for today's business news on the programme, and we're starting off for you with a closer look at that G20 summit in Japan, where trade is top of the agenda. Now, investors are watching closely to see whether the US and China can strike a deal to put an end to their costly tariff hikes. And here to talk to us all about it this morning is Cole Stangler from our business desk. Cole, good morning to you.
Good morning, Nadia.
What are we expecting today?
That's right. So that dispute between Washington and Beijing has been casting a shadow over the global economy for the better part of a year now, as we were mentioning. But President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, are slated to sit down on Saturday in Osaka in the hopes of bringing it to an end. Now, businesses certainly hope they'll agree to drop tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods, though some analysts are less optimistic, pointing out the two have been down this road before, seeming like they're on the verge of an agreement before rapidly backtracking. Either way, it's a very high-stakes meeting between Trump and Xi that's taking shape. Owen Barnell has the details.
The G20 is underway, and the big talking point of this year's summit in Japan, the showdown between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. With the USA and China in the middle of an escalating trade war, the two leaders are scheduled to sit down on Saturday and discuss their options. In the last few months, tensions have reached boiling point. Much has changed since the G20 summit in Buenos Aires last November, when the end of the trade standoff seemed in sight. Since then, a Trump administration ban on the sale of US tech to Huawei and tit-for-tat tariff increases mean relations are once again tense.
We need to encourage the movement of information, technology, and human resources to safeguard the global industry chain, sharing our strength and cooperating to achieve a win-win situation. We should not develop behind a closed door, and we cannot interfere in the market.
The last round of talks broke down after the US accused China of backtracking on their pledges. Soon after, Trump had raised tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods from 10 to 25%. Trump has threatened that another $300 billion worth could be targeted if the two don't sign a deal. However, Beijing has demands of its own. Xi will reportedly present Trump with a set of preconditions before China agrees to end the trade war. Among those terms, the lifting of the ban on the sale of US products to Huawei and an end to all tariffs on Chinese exports. Both sides will hope Saturday's meeting yields fruit. Both will know it depends on how much the other is willing to budge.
Now, investors are keeping a cautious watch on developments out of that G20 meeting in Osaka, clearly feeling a bit jittery so far, with European markets out to a lackluster start, trading just around the flat line as we're seeing here. Frankfurt DAX up about 1/5 of 1% there. Otherwise, stocks holding steady. Gold is also on track for its best month in 3 years. It's risen 9% this June. The commodity often seen as a hedge against inflation, but also regarded as a safe haven amid economic uncertainty, something there's no shortage of today. Turning to the Asian markets, earlier in the day, the indices posting some losses, as we're seeing here. Hang Seng in Hong Kong down about 0.5 of 1%. Meanwhile, the Nikkei in Japan finished the day down about 1/3 of 1%. Turning now to the currency markets, where the euro is down just slightly against the dollar, trading at just over, we're seeing the dollar trading at $1.13, also trading at just over 89.5 pence sterling. And finally, for me, Twitter is unveiling a new policy to crack down on politicians whose tweets violate the site's rules. The company says it's not going to delete tweets from leading political figures that include hate speech or make violent threats. Instead, it'll hide the tweets and label them. That'll include a warning that the message is covered by the site's rules over abusive behavior, but that it's in the public interest to keep the tweet up. Users can then decide for themselves if they want to read it. No politician was directly named by Twitter as it made this change, but at least a few come to mind, Nadia. The Guardian was more blunt in its analysis. It said you might as well call this the Trump rule.
Okay, the Guardian's words, not ours, though,
Yep.
Cole. Thank you very much. Cole Stangler there with our business update this morning.